Welcome into the Week 7 Giants Hangout. Madeline Burke, Braden London, and Jonathan Casillas looking ahead. The Giants back at MetLife Stadium taking on the Washington Commanders Sunday at 1 p.m. Just the third home game of the season, but this one is not in prime time. It's a 1 o'clock game. It's a division game. You guys excited to be out there on Sunday afternoon?
Oh, absolutely. Him C is going to be, we're ready. Him C's got the turtleneck on.
Got the t-shirts yet?
I got, not yet. That's how, you know what? I need to reach out to somebody about that. I got the turtleneck on. Casillas got the wristbands on. Put your arms up. Those wristbands?
Watch on.
Oh, I thought those were wristbands at first. I was like, he is ready.
Oh, you thought these were the one wristbands?
I thought they were wristbands. I thought they were working you out at offensive lineman or something, man. Like, what? Okay, my bad.
Heck no.
My bad, yeah.
Well,
but I'll be there on Sunday at 1 o'clock. If you guys want to pull up, I'll be outside the stadium. Brandon, you might pull up, right? You always pull up on us a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. B will be out there. We're going to be out there, having a good time. DJ, talking some ball, jamming, vibing. The DJ's out there playing music. Brandon out there, him seeing. You have a good time for sure.
It'll be good. It'll be a good time. Speaking of DJ, the Giants DJ, he's been out on the practice field this week. Daniel Jones, not yet cleared for contact, has been throwing the ball a little bit. So it still remains to be seen if he's going to be back in at quarterback or if it's going to be Tyrod Taylor again. Before this Giants offense, we saw them getting things going a little bit last week, getting the ball out pretty quickly. They're going to have to do that again against this Washington defense this week, Casillas.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at this front four of the Washington, and you could throw two Hill in there as well. He had 2 sacks last week against the Falcons. I'm comparing them to the defensive line from the Eagles last year, where I think at season's end, you're going to have about 4 or 5 guys flirting around about 10 sacks, given how they're going right now. And look, Deron Payne is not even in that group of guys that I'm talking about, and he's probably their best defensive lineman. Chase Young is, I think, is having his best year in terms of performance-wise and the havoc that he's creating. Jonathan Allen is a force to be reckoned with. So this is something that, you know what I hate, guys? I hate when people are like, oh, yeah, the Giants are going to have an easy game against what are we talking about? There's no easy games, especially when you're sitting at 1-5, right? You've only scored 3 points at home. Like, this is not an easy game. It's a divisional game, first off, first of all, no matter what we think about the Commanders, they actually can score points. They have scored points. They went to overtime with the Eagles. They won their last game. Their defensive front is full of first-round draft picks who, if you look at the Giants' offensive line, is almost a mismatch. And the Giants' offensive line have to prove to me that it's not a mismatch, and they have to go out and perform well. And unless they are doing that, look, the Commanders right now on paper, they have the edge. They have the edge right now on paper, given the points they can score and their defensive line versus our offensive line. The Giants have to prove otherwise.
Yeah, to go back to the DJ Daniel Jones thing, I think you sit him this week, or he should sit. I look at him as one of those players you kind of have to protect against himself. He's going to go out there. He's going to give you everything he can. Strained neck, sore neck, doesn't matter. He's going to want to go out there and play. But I think Tyrod Taylor and that offensive line showed enough going up against the Buffalo Bills, a team that leads the league in sacks last week. One thing I think they did a great job of is going empty formation, allowing that quick game to kind of work itself and be a run within itself. And you didn't wear down Saquon, who ended up running for 90-plus yards, and he broke a 30-something yarder. 34 yarder. But at the same time, Tyrod Taylor in the 13th year, he's smart enough to kind of delegate and understand what's going on, what a defense is going to try and throw at him. So when you go that empty formation, defense have to kind of declare themselves, and they kind of have to tip their hat on who's blitzing, who's dropping. So I think they did a good job reading hots and sights and doing that sort of thing to not only protect the quarterback, protect the running back by not giving him too many carries, but also protecting the offensive line last game as well. So you'd like to see that against a Commander's defensive line, because we could talk about this. That secondary, JC, they giving it. They'll give it up.
Yep,
give it up. So block it up, they'll give it up.
Lock it up for sure. I mean, you talked about that front, though. The Commanders, they've got 3 players with 3 or more sacks on the season in 2023. Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Jonathan Allen, JC, you mentioned these guys. The only team in the NFL with more players with 3 or more sacks is Buffalo, the team that the Giants just played. So going up against this defensive front is going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tricky one. And you made that great point, Brandon. The fact that Daniel Jones, he's a tough guy. You can say a lot of things about Daniel Jones, but not a single one of them is that he's not tough, because he's absolutely, going to do everything he can to put himself in the best position to be there, be out on the field with his teammates. But when you've got, talking about putting pressure on the quarterback, on the other side, you got Sam Howell also, who he is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL. He's the most hit quarterback in the NFL this year. And despite the fact that in the last 3 games, they've only given the ball up once, he's still among league leaders, top 3, I want to say, in the NFL in giveaways this season. The fact that the Giants have been getting takeaways in bunches. I mean, I know we were all out here trying to do push-ups for who would get the first takeaway. Now it seems like they're like, you get a ball and you get a ball and you get a ball. This defense is doing that. Can they capitalize? Can they pressure Sam Howell enough to say, all right, let's put you in that position and give it up?
They're going to have to.
Yeah,
absolutely. Go ahead.
And we've seen, I think, the Giants defense take step forward, every single week. I think Miami, they created, some turnovers. The yardage didn't, I don't think, showed how they progressed forward. But last week, defensively, that might have been their best performance the last 2 years, guys.
Yeah.
Like the way they had this team stifled. Bills really only had 2 drives. They put together 2 very long drives that equal touchdowns. But you take those drives away, the Giants smashed them. Like they were stifled. They look that like Josh Allen is one of the top tier quarterbacks. He didn't look like a top tier quarterback. He looked like a rookie that didn't know what he was doing at times in this game. Bobby Okereke the last 2 weeks has forced 4 turnovers, whether he was the one doing it or he was the one forcing it. So when you have a guy like that that's putting together games like that, I think it inspires guys, right? The performance of Justin Pugh last week. Somebody asked me yesterday, he's like, oh, Pugh played really well. No, he didn't, but he played inspired football. When you come in like that, you know this, without missing games or coming off an injury, going into a team where you're new, playing one position and you change position is very difficult. Not putting the fact that he hasn't played football, he wasn't in training camp, he wasn't at OTAs, he wasn't even here until the week before. That is something to inspire other people. And he held up and survived. So he didn't have to play well to inspire people. I think as moving forward, you will get better play out of him. And I think it'll inspire the other guys among the offensive line and maybe inspire somebody like Andrew Thomas to come back. We need you, bro. Let's come back. Let's play some football.
I mean, I don't think Andrew Thomas is out here saying like, oh, no, I'm not inspired to come back. But I can see that. But talk about the difference, though, between clarify this for some people, like the difference between good football and inspired football. Because somebody said, oh, he played well. No, he didn't, but he played inspired. What's the caveat there?
Well, I mean, you look at what he did, right? He had a couple 4 starts. He gave up a couple sacks, but he never gave up. He was consistently fighting all game. He lasted. I think he improved as the game went on, and that is, you see confidence in that. You can take something from that. He didn't put his head down. He didn't say, oh, man, he didn't make any excuses. He never made any excuses. He never said, oh, man, they got me because I moved from guard to tackle. He didn't say none of that. He knew that. He said he had to play better. He said he will do a better job. When I talked to him, right, when he first signed, I was so happy that he signed. And I was like, hey, man, what's going on? Like, good to see you, blah, blah, blah. He was like, yeah, man, they signed me in the practice squad. I need about 3 weeks. He got 10 days. He got 10 days. They activated him, played 2 positions, the hardest position on the field. Like, that is inspiring football. Don't matter really how you play. That's inspiring football. When all the odds are stacked up against you, you go out there and you put forth a valiant effort and you're fighting hard in the 4th quarter, playing good football. You're tough. You're trying to be nasty with these guys. Like, that's, bro, I'm like, bro, I'll fight with you, bro, any day of the week.
Yeah, it's that do what it takes football. And I think, like what you say, how contagious that is. Go back to the defense. This game, this Commanders game, it's on that defense. I'm putting on the defensive line. We're talking about Sam Howell, who got sacked 5 times against the Falcons. The Giants, I believe, only have 5 sacks on the year. So this is going to be one of those games where they're going to have to get that pressure on Sam Howell. He is not a big numbers guy. I think he only threw for 151 last week, but he put up 3 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over. So if you can get that type of pressure on him, get him to have that chattery, happy feet in the pocket, that's going to help that secondary because he has yak receivers on the outside. Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, Scary Terry McLaurin. Those guys, they do a great job or Eric Bieniemy does a great job of calling the RPOs a quick run action to get those linebackers to step up. And they're dumping curl stops, slants behind it. Those guys don't go down off of the first tackle. So it's going to be on the defensive line to cause that pressure, to cause some sort of errant throw, maybe a little behind for a pass breakup, a tip ball, or even a pick. But to go back to Bobby and how Bobby's been playing, Okereke been playing more than okay. Like the dude has been lights out, and this is going to be one of those games where he and Michael McFadden, who have been playing well together, and Wink are going to have to get together, and they're going to have to show how they're going to disguise against Sam Howell to kind of lipstick on the pig to force him to do something or go with the ball somewhere he doesn't want to go. He'll hold on to that football, trying to make the down the field throw. He's tied for 8th in the league for pass plays over 30 yards. They want to go downfield, help out that secondary by getting pressure on that quarterback.
Yeah, and pressure is something that we saw last week. The Commanders played the Falcons, a team that came into that game with the league's lowest sack total. The Falcons were able to sack Sam Howell 5 times. So they're able to get pressure on him. Howell's got, 6 interceptions and 2 fumbles on the season, despite the fact that in the last 3 weeks he's been keeping it clean, holding on to the ball. But if you put pressure on Sam Howell, if you get him to throw under duress, and you put it, you can see this Bobby Okereke, Micah McFadden duo coming in there like, Salino and Barnes right here. We're ready to take this case on. And the dynamic duo of the two of them, we saw both of those takeaways last week coming off of that pair. It's going to be a solid matchup right there. And then
you said Salino and Barnes. I was going to say Chris and Cross or Barnes and Noble because Bobby's a Stanford guy, No,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I like it. And I mean, you mentioned, Brandon, these, skill position players. You got Terry McLaurin, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas, Jahan Dotson, Antonio Gibson, all, getting a lot of receiving yards. Brian Robinson Jr. leads the Commanders in scrimmage yards. There's so many options to go to. When you look at these skill position players, you started to touch on it a little bit, but who's the biggest threat? You think Scary Terry is the guy to lock in on?
Yeah, but you could put Tay Banks out there on him, maybe not one-on-one the entire game. And look, Scary Terry's going to come up with his catch or catches. It's just going to happen. But I like the confidence level that Tay Banks has been playing with. He goes and he tries to strap up everybody. So if there's a way you can put him over there, make sure you have some sort of safety help over the top. That's definitely going to help. But talking to Cordell Flott in the locker room after Wednesday's practice, he was talking about how important it's going to be to tackle these guys. Again, don't let a 6-yard catch turn into 16 to 60. You have to get these guys down and then on the other end, JC, and I'll throw this one to you, got to be able to stop this power run game.
Yep.
If they're able to get it to 2nd and 4, 3rd and 1 to 2, because Brian Robinson Jr. and Gibson, and then watch out for Chris Rodriguez Jr., who came in against the Falcons and had some nice runs. Giants defense, the Giants run defense has kind of been towards the back of the NFL. This is I'm asking you, does Wink sell out? Do you have to sell out and then leave these guys one-on-one on the outside? I'm asking you, Wink Casillas, like what could this game plan be to stop this type of offense?
Well, let's see, because I think Wink's been mixing it up a little bit, especially in terms of the game plans given the last few weeks.
Wink Martindale and Wink Casillas. Which
Wink
one?
Martindale, but Wink Casillas put my headset on. I'm a blitz Sam Howell. I'm going to blitz him, and I'm going to rely on my DBs to make tackles. But who I'm going to rely on, which we've been very quiet this year, we haven't seen him dance. I don't know if we've seen him dance one time, is Dexter Lawrence. Think about who's on the other side, right? You got Deron Payne. Everybody's been talking about this Washington Commanders defensive lineman. Not too many people have been talking about Dexter Lawrence. When you're playing against other guys on not the offensive line, but the defensive line, and they've been getting all the talk and they've been getting all the credit, it's like, all right, I'm going to show these guys why I was all pro last year. I'm going to show these guys why they paid me as much money as they paid me. I'm better than Deron Payne. I expect Dexter Lawrence to finally have that dominant breakout game, and that is going to affect the entire offense of the Washington Commanders. And we've seen Dexter Lawrence take over games last year multiple times. He's kind of been relatively quiet. I think this is the game against a familiar opponent that he's going to be able to take this game over, and then everything else will fall in behind him. He's going to create some takeaways. He's going to create some negative plays. He's going to create frustration among that offense, and we're going to see if the back end could go ahead and catch those tips and overthrows, because I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities in this game.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Dexter Lawrence has been quiet this year so far. He doesn't have a sack yet, despite having 7.5 sacks last season. The only time we've seen the sexy Dexy dance is when Christian Wilkins, Miami defensive lineman, did it when he got the sack, because, of course, Christian Wilkins and Dexter Lawrence, Clemson teammates formerly. It's a little bit of a hat tip, a little bit of a, competitive nudge to his former college teammate right there. But the fact that you've got Kayvon Thibodeau leading the Giants with sacks, he's got 4 so far this year, matching his total last year. You love that pressure, but you want to see it coming from the inside of that defensive line too. Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams. It's also interesting too, JC, you mentioned the blitz, right? And Next Gen Stats has the Giants blitzing on 41% of opponent dropbacks this year, which is the 3rd highest rate in the NFL. But despite that, they're only getting a 2.6 sack percentage when blitzing, which is 2nd lowest in the NFL. So why is it that the blitz hasn't been translating to sacks, to connecting to the quarterback?
Well, I think when you look at the offenses they played, they understand who they're going against, right? They understand what they're doing defensively. So they have their hots, they have their targets. And I think on the back end of the Giants, I think a very inexperienced back end, they're just a little bit off here and there. And they're allowing some of these, quick hitches, quick throws, to these receivers, these hot routes, and it's allowing them to get away from the blitz. And then, when you look at, I think what they did last week, they kind of pulled back and didn't blitz as much against the Bills. I think they had a little bit more success. So I expect them to definitely blitz them, but then throw in some coverages when maybe they self-scouted and this is a down and distance, 3rd and long, or whatever the case is, that they would normally blitz, to possibly show blitz and then play some coverage on the back end. Now that will have Sam Howell thinking twice about certain things. That will have him possibly hitching the ball, which number 1 will allow the rush to get there. Number 2, if he does throw the ball, it'll be tighter windows, smaller windows, and better opportunities for the Giants to get their hands on some footballs.
Either way, we're, as football fans, we're in for a treat to see Eric Bieniemy versus Wink Martindale.
Right.
Football is a game of chess with live players, and both of these guys are at the top of, they're on that Antoine Fisher when it comes to this chess game. So it's going to be pretty interesting to watch. Just as a fan, MC, you know who MC is going for, but the football fan in MC wants to see the chess match.
Yeah. Speaking of chess match, I'm so impressed with how many players within this Giants locker room are playing chess lately.
Right.
Like, everybody loves chess these days, and I'm like, I respect it. It's such a fascinating game to me, and seeing these guys in the locker room during media availabilities, just locked into the chessboard. Very cool.
JC, they be having their leg up, crossed on their leg and stuff, like sitting back like a pencil in the back of the air. I'm like, you ain't about that. You don't act like that.
It's a sophisticated game played by sophisticated men.
Sophistication indeed, and taking the sophistication field, of course. I mean, this is a division game too, and I like this matchup though too. It's like, okay, this pawn and the rook. I don't know. I'm not a chess person, but you got, you're taking this chess match to the field. I like that you pointed that out too. Eric Bieniemy, Wink Martindale, 2 brilliant minds on offense and defense, respectively. This is a division game. It's only the 2nd division game the Giants have had this year. And despite the rough start to the season, this team has been trending in a better direction, week in and week out, especially on the defensive end. Things are getting better. Offense has just got to figure out a couple of things, get healthy, find a way to get into the end zone. But also, you're going into a division matchup and you start stacking some wins in that regard. Despite the 1-5 start to the season, this isn't a season to write off just yet. Things can still turn around quite quickly. So I know we already had JC put on his Wink Martindale headset, but Brandon, I'm going to start with you here. Put on your coach's hat. Put on your coach's mindset. If you're looking at this team, what's your message to this Giants team going into a division game at MetLife Stadium on Sunday?
Put on the Mike London or Mike London Jr. because both my dad and my brother are coaches, so they're
That's
just
true. That's true. I mean, you're in the Mike London coaching tree, so
oh
regardless, yeah.
My dad, one of them Dick Vermeil type guys, I get hyped and start crying in the middle of the speech. So I ain't trying to be crying on the pod on the hangout. I want to hang out, but not cry. But all jokes aside, I think it's one of those games where I wouldn't necessarily tell the players it's a fork in the road in terms of the season, but it's something where you tell these guys, look, we've been through it before. Last year, they had ups and downs of the roller coaster season, but you came out with wins. You know this team can play. You know this team can win. It's a lot of the same guys coming back, being asked to do some of the same things. Play smart football. We don't have big plays negated by penalties. Get to the quarterback. Special teams has to show up this game because Jamison Crowder is an X factor on the special teams game. So it's a divisional game. You know this opponent. It's just football, guys. It's just football. Play the X's and O's. You've done the work. You've been prepared for it. Go out there and just take you out of it. Take your stats, take the noise of what people are saying about you. Play for the guy right next to you. JC, if I was right there, if I was to take the coach hat off as a player, JC, I'm gonna play for you this game. Dex, I'm going to play for you this game. Xavier McKinney, I'm going to play for you this game. Make it bigger than self. This has to be one of those games where you have to make it bigger than self. And at the end of the day, I know you want to stack wins. I know you want to go on a run, but just get one. Just get one first. And then it's like Pringles. Bet you can't eat one. I hope.
Back them up.
There's no sponsor for the Giants.
I love that. I love that a lot. And if you was the head coach and I was assistant coach, I would probably speak first and then you're second. But, if it was vice versa, you're the assistant coach and I'm the head coach, I'm speaking second. Yeah. I would just follow up with saying, just keep taking it one game at a time. Don't look down the road and rededicate yourselves to your brother. Like you said, rededicate yourself to practice, rededicate yourself to watching film, rededicate yourself and your energy on how you approach the week, because how you practice, how you approach the week. Look what Justin Pugh did. Use him as an example. He's fresh off the couch. Justin Pugh is fighting for his life and his future. And I love how he talks to the media. I love how Tyrod Taylor talks to the media. I'm glad these are two guys that, I try to listen to the different audios that's out there from Madeline or whoever, Paul, and the guys that speaking, just to kind of get the different perspectives and what's going on with the team. And I love hearing Pugh talk. He sounds like he's been around the league as long as he has. And I could just think about how he's heard in the locker room, when he's speaking. And even Tyrod, now that Tyrod has more of the reins right now because he most likely will start this weekend, and you can hear in his voice, you hear the accountability, you hear him talking about him have to play better. You hear that. And as a young player on this team, you have to be like, I don't want to let these guys down. Again, what you said, B, rededicate yourself to your teammates, because you got guys that's literally fighting for their futures, fighting for their lives, their livelihood, I don't know their lives, but, and be inspired by that. Play great, enthusiastic, motivated football, not just on Sunday, but Wednesday when you come to practice, today, Thursday when you come to practice, Friday, have a great, fast Friday or whatever they're calling it here. Then have a great walkthrough on Saturday. Put together a great body of work, so then when you show up on Sunday, you already did the work. You just got to go out there and have fun.
Let's go. I'm ready to run through the wall for you guys.
Ready? You ready?
Yeah. And I mean, also too, like you said, these guys are locked in. Brandon, you've been in the locker room quite a bit. Casillas, you've been in the locker room around this team. We see the fact that they're not fracturing. They're not like, the weight of the adversity is not getting to these guys, which is a credit to these guys as teammates, as players, as coaches, the whole group of it sticking together through the storm. We knew going into the season, the start of the season was going to be a gauntlet, a tough stretch. It has been. As they're making it through that, it's like, all right, let's keep our head up, keep focused on the task at hand, and get it done on Sunday at MetLife Stadium. I'm excited. We'll be out there. Casillas will be out there on the radio before the game. Make sure to stop by his pregame. See Brandon London. on the ones and twos in the DJ booth, on the mic. He'll be popping up in section 206 and 117 and 324 and all over the
106 in Park, all of it. I'm all
right?
over the place.
770, 404, all of it. We'll be out there. We'll got the post-game show going on from MetLife Stadium. Giants, Commanders, an NFC East game. It's going to be a good one. I'm excited to be out there. Thank you all for joining our Thursday Hangouts. Wrap for us.